have a guest minister here today. Her name is Reverend Nicole Robbins, and she's going to come on up. She's going to tell us a little bit about what she knows about revealing our holy home.
Butch, I just want to say, what a beautiful song. Thank you so much. It really, really touched me. And thank you so much, Reverend Scott, for inviting me to this beautiful church to speak today. For those of you who don't know, he's actually my mentor minister, so I get to have this man's shoulders to stand on. And as I was thinking of this topic, creating home, creating a healthy home, I went back to 2002. I didn't understand about the creative process. I didn't realize that thoughts are things back then. All I knew is I had this idea. In 2003, I was going to buy a home. I had no idea how it was going to happen. I had no idea how I would pay for it. But this voice inside my head said, I'm going to buy a home. And that New Year's Eve, as I was celebrating at a restaurant with a whole group of people, as we were counting down, this year I'm buying a home, this year 9, this year I'm buying a home. Happy New Year! I'm buying a home. This year I'm buying a home. And so around January, end of January, February, I went out. There was a Thomas Guide back then. I don't know if you guys remember the Thomas Guide. I Xeroxed a bunch of pages and I taped it together. And I was living in Glendale at the time. And I started looking at homes from Pasadena to Canoga Park to Calabasas. And I would cross out areas and circle areas. And then finally around May, I found a home in Canoga Park on Stagg Street. And I put in an offer, and I was so certain I was going to get it because my great-grandparents, my father's grandparents lived on that street in Canoga Park. It was mine, obviously. My great-grandparents are sending me to Stagg Street to buy a home. It didn't happen. There was already 3 offers on it. And so just so heartbroken, I started looking around for more houses, and I would put in offers, and it got denied. And I didn't know that there's a statement, what is divinely yours will not be denied. It might be delayed. And it was delayed. My creating my home was delayed. Finally, end of July, beginning of August, my realtor says, I have this home over here. And I was a little grumpy, I would say a little moody that day, because we'd already looked at 3 or 4 homes, and they were just, I'm not going to use the word I really want to use to describe them. They were a work in progress, and would take a lot of construction to build them up to what I would call a healthy home. Finally, he said there was one right here. We went over it, and I looked at it. Well, it wasn't quite my style, but you know what? Let's do it. But the owner was there, and I said, look, the price it had gone up from when I started in January, February, raised $100,000 more than I figured I could pay. And I go to the owner who happened to be there. I said, look, I don't want to waste your time, your realtor's time, my realtor's time. I'm going to put in a full offer for this house. And if you will come back, I'm sorry, I'm out. Guess what she did? She came back $2,000 lower. And I got this home. I moved in and I was excited, and my neighbors came over and he introduced himself and we chatted for a few minutes and then he left. And then the next day he came back again and he said, you know what, Nikki, I Googled your name and out came a French restaurant. What, a French restaurant? And he said, yes, we celebrated New Year's together at the Wine Bistro. My wife remembered talking to you, it was family style that night, and my wife remembered talking to you about tennis, because I'm actually a tennis coach by profession, and she remembers talking with you. So you're telling me the night I vowed to the universe that I was going to buy a home, I'm going to move next door to the people who are sitting 2 seats away from me? Talk about the creative process. I went through a lot of angst and suffering wanting to get a home and not really knowing how it's going to work. But it is rightfully yours. It will not be denied. It just might be delayed. I didn't know about Science of Mind back then. I actually did meet Reverend Michael a few years later, so I've known him way before I became a practitioner. And I went to the same place where he got his spiritual master's in spirituality, psychology. And so I've known him for all these years, and I would share with him about becoming a practitioner. And I never planned on being a minister. I just kept taking classes. And next thing I know, I'm a minister, and here I am standing talking in front of you all. I was so hoping Reverend Michael was going to be here, because I knew what he had, I wanted some of. But what I've really discovered over these years is not the physical building, this home that I somehow manifested, not knowing the law of creativity and affirmations. I didn't know about that back then. But what I do know is that home is where our heart is. Home is who I am, my connection to the divine. And it's taken me a long time to realize that my imperfections, my mistakes, make me truly, truly God. God doesn't turn me down because I make a mistake. That's when I get lifted up. So finding my home isn't that physical building, but my love of myself for exactly who I am. Being who I am. This is where our home really is. And knowing that these creative principles and practices are mine to use, that maybe I wanted to create something. I want to be a senior minister one day. But I'm not sure when that time is. I'm just going to know and trust the process, because it's a creative process. It's a creative healing home. And as long as I know I'm centered in who I am, that's all that really matters. That's all that matters. I still love my home. I'm still there 20 years later. It's still a wonderful, wonderful sanctuary of joy. And I can live my best self in there, not because of the home, but because how I truly value and love who I am as a person. And I found this beautiful Brene Brown quote from her books, Gifts of Imperfection. And she says, authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about a choice to show up and be real, the choice to be honest, the choice to let our true selves be seen. That's where our home is, being who we really are, really connecting to our soul, speaking our truth, not the facade. I know Reverend Scott's doing an Enneagram class, and that's really how my 3 self found out who I really was. I'm valuable exactly for who I am, not what I do, not what I achieve. And in the past, I had to drop that facade as a 3 in the Enneagram. So I highly recommend taking Scott's class from the Enneagram. A little push for you there.
Thank you.
And just really like connecting who we are. Who are you? And what do you want to create in your life? What do you want to create in your home? Relationship, health, wealth, love. To plug a little one of mine, at the beginning of the year, I'm going to do a little four-day workshop, probably on Zoom, about creating a healthy, wealthy, prosperous, and joyful 2023. So I'll tell Reverend Scott about that, and he can help plug it for me too. So what I wish for each and every one here today and online is that, who are you? Connect to that home inside your heart. Because I remember one of my mentors said to me, God is in you as you. And I thought, what? I thought that was such a profound concept. God is feeling my struggles and my pain. Are you kidding me? And now I just go, yes. Because I now know, be still and know that I am. And that's really all that matters, is to know, is to be still and know that I am. And so are you. And so it is.